Inside a cement plant, workers enter a massive ball mill for maintenance, when suddenly the giant machine roars back to life. Ball mills grind stone into powder, using a rotating steel shell powered by enormous motors. When shut down, the chamber seems harmless, even safe to step inside. But behind that silence lies stored energy, and unless every source is isolated, the danger is never gone. Fitters climb in with tools, focused on replacing liners. Then, without warning, the mill jolts. The shell begins to turn, and in seconds, what was a safe workspace transforms into a moving trap of unstoppable steel. Once the rotation starts, there's no reversing it. Never, ever enter a ball mill or any confined machinery without lockout, tagout, and tryout. Power must be fully shut down, verified, and proven safe before anyone steps inside. In a building lobby, one snagged wire in an elevator door turns a stack of steel panels into a dangerous projectile. The security footage shows a worker guiding tall steel sheets out of an elevator. The load looks steady, the movement controlled, but a hidden hazard is already in play. A thin wire remains attached, caught in the closing doors. Moments later, the elevator is called to another floor. The motor engages, the wire goes taut, and the panels whip backward with unstoppable force. What looked steady turns instantly into a dangerous surge of motion, the load jerking free and slamming the space into sudden chaos. Never, ever allow wires, straps, or attachments near closing elevator doors. Elevators are not designed to handle external loads, and once the system moves, its power is absolute. Inside a scrap metal yard, a worker climbs down from an excavator, but his next move takes him dangerously close to a machine built to crush. The scene is a sprawling industrial recycling plant, dominated by the sounds of heavy machinery. An excavator moves mountains of twisted metal, feeding a conveyor that leads to a massive scrap press. This machine's only purpose is to compact steel with thousands of pounds of hydraulic force. A worker climbs down from his cab and walks directly toward this powerful apparatus. He approaches the conveyor-fed opening of the shredder to clear a jam. Instead of shutting the system down, he climbs into the machine's operational zone to dislodge a piece of tangled metal. Without warning, a sensor triggers the machine's cycle. The compacting arm surges forward with unstoppable force. The space that looked safe seconds earlier is suddenly consumed by motion, turning routine clearance into chaos. Never, ever enter the operational zone of crushing or compacting machinery while it is powered on. These systems are designed with absolute force and have no capacity to distinguish between scrap metal and a human being. The only way to safely perform clearing, maintenance, or adjustments is to implement a full lockout-tagout procedure, ensuring the machine is de-energized, its power source is isolated, and it cannot be reactivated until the work is complete. At a railway construction site, workers raise a metal pole. In seconds, it makes contact with an overhead wire, unleashing a massive surge of electrical power. A team of workers is coordinating to manually lift a tall steel ladder into a vertical position. The task requires all their focus on balance, leverage, and teamwork to manage the heavy object. But just above them, unseen and unheeded, are high-tension power lines carrying thousands of volts. As the crew raises the ladder higher, it edges dangerously close to the overhead wires. In an instant, the pole bridges the gap, and thousands of volts surge downward. What was a controlled lift suddenly becomes an uncontrollable hazard, with electricity transforming a routine task into chaos. Electricity does not forgive proximity. Never, ever maneuver conductive materials like metal poles or ladders anywhere near overhead power lines without first confirming the power has been shut off. A safe distance must always be maintained, but the only true guarantee of safety is to de-energize and ground the lines before any work begins in the area. A parked truck begins to roll forward on its own. The driver rushes to stop it, but in seconds the machine becomes a runaway danger. A red cab with its long green trailer sits at the edge of the site. The driver has climbed onto the back, adjusting the load. What he doesn't realize is that the truck is unsecured, no proper brake engaged, no lock to hold it in place. For a moment, it looks steady. Then the vehicle begins to creep forward, slow but unstoppable. The driver spots the movement and panics. He scrambles down, desperate to reach the cab, but the truck is already in motion. In seconds, its weight takes over, rolling forward with unstoppable force, leaving the driver powerless to stop it. Never, ever leave a truck without securing the brakes. An unbraked vehicle is not parked. It's a rolling hazard that can move at any time. And once it does, even the driver who tries to stop it can't outrun the danger. On a muddy roadside, a crew uses a flammable spray to reseat a tire, and this dangerous shortcut triggers an uncontrolled explosive event. The video shows a group of off-roaders attempting a field repair. With a tire off its rim and an air compressor unable to seat the bead, they turn to a risky, improvised method. A man begins spraying a flammable liquid into the gap between the tire and the rim, relying on a dangerous trick where igniting the vapor is supposed to force the tire into place with a sudden expansion of gas. It's a technique known in some circles, but one that ignores the fundamental risks of mixing fuel, air, and ignition in a contained space. A spark touches the vapor, and in an instant, the mixture erupts. What should have been a quick fix turns into a sudden burst of uncontrolled combustion. The tire and rim jolt violently as the improvised method backfires, sending chaos through the roadside repair. Never ever use an accelerant or fire to seat a tire bead. Introducing a flammable vapor into a tire and igniting it creates the exact conditions for an uncontrolled explosion, turning the tire and rim into a high-energy projectile. Always use proper approved tools for tire service, such as bead sealers and inflation cages, which are designed to manage pressure safely. Inside a chemical plant, routine work suddenly turns into a burst of fire. The CCTV footage shows two workers inside an industrial facility. Around them, pipes, valves, and tanks form a complex system carrying chemicals under pressure. One worker bends down to check a connection, while the other focuses on a nearby control point. At first, everything seems normal, but in plants like this, the smallest oversight can carry huge risks. A single loose fitting or unsealed joint can allow flammable vapor to escape, creating a hazard just waiting to ignite. As the worker makes an adjustment near the pipe, a sudden flare bursts outward. It's over almost as quickly as it began, but the lesson is clear. When pressurized chemicals escape, the system reacts instantly and with powerful force. Never, ever perform work on a line that hasn't been fully isolated and depressurized. Pressurized systems are unforgiving. If a leak ignites, the release is instant and overwhelming. Proper lockout, pressure testing, and hot work precautions are the only way to stay safe. On a dock, a massive mobile crane dangles from shipboard cables. For a moment, it hangs steady, but then it tilts. In Honduras, a routine gas delivery turned into a serious accident when one worker was caught beneath a low roof. The CCTV footage shows a delivery truck loaded with dozens of gas cylinders. 3 workers ride in the back, seated on top of the cargo as the vehicle backs toward a residential property. Above the entrance, a concrete roof extends outward. As the truck approaches, 2 workers quickly duck to avoid hitting the low clearance. A third worker, however, doesn't react in time. Despite warnings from his coworkers, the man remains upright. As the truck continues to reverse, the low clearance suddenly becomes unavoidable. The movement halts only when the danger is finally realized, showing how quickly a simple delivery can escalate when safety checks are ignored. Riding unsecured on top of cargo is never safe, especially in areas with overhead hazards. Drivers and crews must treat low clearance zones with caution, using spotters and stopping immediately if visibility is limited. In a busy loading yard, a single mistake with a forklift turns a heavy shipment into a falling hazard. The footage shows workers guiding a forklift as it carries a tall, bulky load across the yard. The machine seems stable at first, but the load is stacked high and not secured, making it top-heavy and unstable. As the forklift maneuvers, the weight shifts. The tall stack tips, its balance lost in an instant. Gravity takes over, and the unsecured load slams to the side, scattering the crew's workspace and forcing workers to retreat from the danger zone. Never, ever try to stop a falling load with your hands. Forklifts must only carry properly secured and balanced cargo, and workers must stay clear of the danger zone in case the load shifts. Keep load stable and within safe lifting limits, and never stand or reach under raised cargo. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.